My hands are not what they used to be. These fingers have planted more seeds than most people will see in a lifetime, and every single one of them taught me something different about how to live. When people ask me how I turned a crumbling old greenhouse and some leftover seed packets into $5,000 every single spring, they expect some complicated answer. But the truth is so much simpler than that, and it's something I wish I had understood when I was your age, sitting in front of a screen wondering how to make my life matter and make my money matter too. I'm 88 years old now. I should probably be sitting inside all day, complaining about my knees and watching television. But every March, without fail, I walk out to that old glass structure that my grandfather built in 1956, and I unlock something that feels closer to magic than anything I've ever experienced. And today, before I get any older, before time takes away more of these memories, I want to tell you exactly what that magic is. Because this isn't just about money. It's about creating something from almost nothing. It's about understanding the rhythm of the earth. And it's about building a legacy that will outlive you. Let me take you back to when I was 32 years old. I had just lost my job. We had 3 children at home, barely enough to pay rent. And my wife was scared in a way I had never seen her scared before. I remember standing in our little backyard in early March, and I saw that old greenhouse standing there, broken and unused. My grandfather had passed it down to me, but I didn't know anything about it. I didn't have a green thumb. I didn't have money to start some fancy business. I just had time, a little bit of desperation, and about 17 seed packets that my grandmother had left behind, still in their original envelopes from the 1950s. That first year, I didn't think about money at all. I just thought about survival. I started those seeds because I wanted to grow vegetables for my family. Every single day, I would wake up at 5 in the morning and spend 2 hours in that greenhouse before I went to look for work. And something magical happened. The tomatoes grew, the peppers grew, the herbs grew, and suddenly I had more fresh food than my family could possibly eat. So I did something very simple. I brought the extras to the farmer's market and I sold them. $30 that first week. It didn't seem like much, but it felt like everything. Now here's what I want you to understand about this moment in my life. I wasn't thinking like a businessman. I was thinking like someone who needed to feed his family and had no choice but to figure things out. And that mindset, that desperation mixed with love and responsibility, that's actually what created the secret I'm going to share with you today. Over the next few years, I started paying attention to something that most people completely miss. I noticed that the seeds that produced the best results, the strongest plants, the ones that grew faster and produced more fruit, those seeds came from hybrid varieties. I noticed that people at the farmer's market weren't just buying vegetables. They were buying the story of where the vegetables came from. They were buying the feeling of supporting a local grower. They were buying the trust that came from seeing my face week after week, knowing I had grown these things with my own hands. But the real transformation came when I shifted from selling vegetables to something much more valuable. I started selling seedlings. Small plants that people could take home and plant in their own gardens. And this is where everything changed. Do you understand why? Because one seed packet that costs maybe 50 cents can produce 50 or 60 seedlings, and each seedling can be sold for $1 or $2. Suddenly, that 50-cent seed packet turned into $100 of product. The labor was the same, the space in the greenhouse was the same, but the value had completely transformed. This is the secret that nobody talks about. And it's almost too simple to believe. The real money is never in the seed itself. The real money is in the transformation of that seed into something living that people can touch and feel and take home with their own hands. Now I want to tell you about how I actually make the $5,000 every spring, because this is the part that takes patience and an understanding of the seasons that comes from decades of paying attention. This isn't overnight wealth. This is the kind of wealth that you build by showing up, by understanding your local community, and by creating something that matters. Around January, I start planning. I look at what sold well the previous year. I look at what people are asking for in my neighborhood. I look at what grows quickly and what produces high-quality plants. This year, I ordered seed packets for about 3 different tomato varieties, 4 pepper varieties, basil, parsley, cilantro, marigolds, impatiens, petunias, and several herbs that my customers come back for again and again. The total investment in seeds is usually between $70 and $100. In early February, I start the most important process, which is creating the right environment.
The greenhouse needs to be cleaned completely. Every surface needs to be washed. The air needs to circulate properly. The soil needs to be refreshed with compost and nutrients. This is not expensive, but it requires time and attention. I spend about 40 hours preparing the greenhouse before I plant a single seed, and this preparation is where I see most people fail. They want to skip this step. They want to rush. But the greenhouse environment is everything. By the middle of February, I start planting seeds according to their growth timelines. Some seeds need 10 weeks before they're ready to sell. Some need 6 weeks. I have notebooks, real paper notebooks, where I write down exactly when each seed was planted, so I know exactly when each batch will be ready for market. By March 15th, I have thousands of seedlings at different stages of growth. Now here's where my age actually becomes an advantage. I've been doing this long enough that I can feel when a plant is ready to be sold. I know what a healthy seedling looks like. I know what customers will return to buy again and again. A young person might look at a perfectly fine seedling and think it's ready. But I know that if I wait 3 more days, if I encourage just a little bit more root development, I'm going to have a better product, a happier customer, and a better reputation. Starting in late March, the first batches are ready. I set up at the farmer's market every Saturday and Sunday. Customers start arriving early, sometimes even before I finish setting up, because they know that my plants are strong, they're healthy, and they've been started from seeds with tremendous love and attention. I don't advertise much. I don't need to. People come back because they remember that their plants from last year grew beautifully. They remember bringing their children to pick out seedlings with me. They remember the experience. By the end of April, when the planting season is at its peak, I'm selling seedlings nearly every day. Farmers markets on weekends, and during the week, people call me directly. They come to the greenhouse. They bring their friends. The word of mouth becomes something that no amount of advertising money could ever buy. The numbers work like this, and I'm going to be very honest about them because I want you to understand that $5,000 isn't magic. It's mathematics combined with consistency. If I sell an average of 70 seedlings per day during the months of March, April, and May, at an average price of $2 per seedling, that's $140 per day. Multiply that by approximately 35 market days and direct sales days, and I'm looking at roughly $4,900. Some years it's less. Some years, when I've had particularly popular varieties, or when the spring weather cooperates perfectly, it's more. But here's what I need you to understand that goes beyond just the money. During those 3 months, I am completely engaged in something that matters. Every seedling I sell is going to become someone's garden, someone's tomato plant that will feed their family, someone's flowers that will bring their children joy. I am not extracting value. I am creating beauty and nutrition and growth and hope, and people are willing to pay me for the privilege of participating in that creation. This work has kept me alive and purposeful for 56 years. When my wife got sick, the greenhouse kept me moving forward. When my children went through difficult times, the greenhouse was always there, asking me to show up, to care for something, to be patient with the process. When the world outside felt chaotic and frightening, the greenhouse was the one place where I could see the results of my effort directly and immediately. I planted a seed. I gave it the right conditions. It grew. That cause and effect, that simplicity and honesty, it's therapeutic in a way that nothing else has ever been. Now, I need to tell you something very important, because I see young people destroying themselves trying to make money from complicated schemes and shortcuts and things that don't align with who they are. If you're going to do something like this, if you're going to turn seeds and time into genuine income, you have to understand your local climate. You have to know your community. You have to be willing to fail sometimes and learn from it. You have to commit to showing up consistently, not just when you feel like it, but every single week, every single market day, in the rain and in the cold and when you're tired. I spend about 400 hours per year in the greenhouse and at the markets. That's about 8 hours per week during the off-season for maintenance and planning, and about 15 to 20 hours per week during the planting and selling season. If I'm making $5,000 and I'm working 400 hours, that's $12.50 per hour. Now, some people might look at that and think it's not worth it. But that's not how I've ever thought about it, because in those 400 hours, I'm not just making money. I'm choosing my schedule. I'm working with my hands. I'm watching things grow. I'm building relationships with my customers. I'm creating something tangible. And at my age, those things are worth infinitely more than the hourly wage. But let me tell you what I've learned that's more valuable than any of the financial secrets. I've learned that legacy isn't about how much money you leave behind. Legacy is about what you teach people while you're still here. Every single customer who buys a seedling from me, I try to give them a little piece of wisdom. I tell them how often to water. I tell them what sunshine means. I tell them the signs that a plant is struggling and how to help it recover. And then, when they come back the next year with their grandchildren and they say that the tomatoes from my plants were the best they've ever tasted, I know that I've passed something on. I've given them an experience that they'll remember. This is what I want to happen as I get older. I don't want my knowledge to die with me. I have 2 of my grandchildren who are starting their own small greenhouses now, using the same methods I taught them. I've given my notebooks to my son, with all my planting schedules and customer preferences documented over decades. I've mentored 3 young people in my community who have started their own seedling businesses, and I've never charged them a penny for that knowledge, because I understand that real wealth is creating the conditions for other people to build their own wealth too. The greenhouse has taught me that time works differently than most people think. We're always rushing. We're always trying to compress, to hurry, to get more done in less time. But the greenhouse operates on a timeline that's completely different. A seed takes as long as it takes to germinate. A seedling takes as long as it takes to develop a strong root system. You cannot speed this up. You cannot force it. All you can do is create the right conditions and then wait patiently. This lesson, more than any other, has changed how I live. When I was young and I lost that first job, I thought it was the end of the world. I wanted to make money immediately. I wanted everything to happen right now. But the greenhouse taught me that some of the best things in life have a growing season. They need time. They need consistency. They need faith that if you keep showing up and doing the work, eventually you'll have something beautiful and valuable. As I sit here at 88 years old, watching my hands shake a little bit as I write this, I'm filled with deep gratitude for that old greenhouse and for the person I became because of it. I'm grateful for the financial independence it gave me. I'm grateful for the purpose it gave me every single day. I'm grateful for the connection it created between me and thousands of people in my community. And I'm grateful most of all for the perspective it gave me about what really matters. If you're watching this and you're thinking about starting something like this, I want to tell you something from deep in my heart. Don't wait until you're in a desperate situation like I was. Don't wait until you're forced by circumstances to figure things out. Start now, while you still have time and energy and flexibility. Start with something simple. Get some seed packets. Build a small shelf with grow lights in your home, or find a corner of a garage. Start learning how plants grow. Start understanding your local market and what people need. The beautiful thing about this business is that it scales with your effort. You can start small and grow it bigger, or you can keep it small and simple and just enjoy the extra income and the incredible fulfillment of watching things grow. There's no right way to do it. There's only your way, based on your situation and your goals and your values. I want to be very clear about something else. This method has worked for me because I genuinely love plants and I genuinely love people. If you don't have those 2 things, if you're only doing this for money, people will feel that and they won't come back. But if you approach this as an opportunity to serve people, to help them create beauty in their own lives, to be part of a community, then something magical happens. Money becomes a side effect of doing something meaningful. In my lifetime, I've seen the world change in ways I never could have imagined. I've seen technology transform nearly everything, but I've never seen technology change the fact that people need food, that people want beauty, that people want to connect with the earth and with each other. These needs are eternal, and because they're eternal, this method will continue to work as long as there are seasons and as long as there are people who want to grow things. My final piece of wisdom, and I say this as someone who is closer to the end of his life than the beginning, is this. Your life is more valuable than your paycheck. The time you spend doing something meaningful, something that creates value for other people, something that you can be proud of, that time is the richest currency that exists. $5,000 is nice. It pays some bills. It gives me security. But what really makes me rich is knowing that every plant that left my greenhouse has the potential to feed a family or bring joy to a community, that every customer has a story connected to my work, that I've created something that will outlast me. So if you take nothing else from this video, take this. Start with what you have. Be consistent in your effort. Create the right conditions for growth. Be patient. Connect with people. Give value. And trust that when you do these things, abundance will follow. Not overnight, and not always in the exact form you expected, but it will follow. I'm going to keep tending this greenhouse for as long as these old hands can work, and I'm going to keep sharing my knowledge with anyone who wants to learn, because that's how we leave something behind. That's how we make sure that the wisdom we've gathered through decades of living doesn't die with us. That's how we build a future that's better than the past we came from. Thank you for letting me share this with you today. Please, if this resonated with you, if you feel inspired to start your own journey, subscribe to this channel. I'm going to be sharing more of these old-time secrets, more wisdom from living a long life, more proof that you don't need complicated answers or expensive education to build something beautiful and valuable. Your grandparents knew things that the modern world forgot, and I'm here to make sure those things don't get lost forever. Subscribe, and let's build a community of people who understand that the simplest solutions are often the most powerful ones. I'll see you in the next one.